All right, it's finally time. We can finally do a recap of the campfire and the patch notes because we just read the patch notes as well. So no filler, let's just get right on into it. I'm not going to go over anything that was already covered that we already knew about in the old patch notes or that we already knew going into the PTR. I'm only going to cover new things that we learned. So for tempering, they added a skip button, thank God, because seeing the animation all the time was unbelievable. And now they're going to show us a new screen that shows what you got and the actual ranges of the values, which is a huge win because you were just going in blind all the time. For masterworking, they removed the animations except for the crits, so you had to upgrade an item 12 times. Now it's only going to play the little animation on 4, 8, and 12, I believe, if I'm understanding what they presented. And then one thing about masterworking is that's like the final step of an item. It's like how you make the final ultimate item of your build. And so you have the ability to reset the masterworking and spend all of the mats again to level it up. So when you're leveling it up, if you don't get what you want, you reset it. So when you start leveling it up again, you need the lower materials. And the way that they have you convert the high materials to the low materials is you literally need hundreds and hundreds of clicks. So they put in a new system where you can scale down easier by buying like bigger bags of the materials, but they said they have a better solution coming in like season 5. But this is the best they could do for season 4, which is fine. They removed the fail chance. Now, there's a recurring theme that you're going to see in these patch notes from the changes that they made. Essentially, everything in the game except for the pit, which is, over level 100, the end game system, has just gotten way easier. So masterworking is kind of the final level of your items. And removing the chance to fail, people said it was really bad. They had PTSD from honing on Lost Ark. I understand that. But now you just walk right on up through the 12 levels, and I guess that's it. So the casual players, the people that don't have a lot of time to play, Diablo 4, I guess, has never been a more accessible game. The leveling is going to be so unbelievably easy, 1 to 100. And with some of the changes that they made, getting the right items that you need and getting the right masterworking on them, they did say they made some adjustments to how much they cost, but with the fail chance being gone, it should be pretty darn easy to get through everything. So that just screams, again, the same motif all the time. Where is the end game? We will have the pit, and they did make it a little bit harder. But other than that, Diablo has probably never been easier when we get through the end of these patch notes. So some of the overall changes, everyone understands that rare and magic items suck and they have no purpose. They said in the future they do have a plan for it, and whatever they do implement, it's not going to make you sift through hundreds of yellows all the time. They're going to do something different. But for right now, you just pick them up and you just salvage them. You will notice in the end game that veiled crystals are very rare. So now they drop from legendaries, and then you get a multiplier when you're salvaging sacred and ancestral ones. So you can get like a 3x multiplier. And they also super dramatically lowered the imprinting cost. So it went from veiled crystals being a pretty rare thing that you were hunting to you'll probably have a super abundance of them now. The greater affixes. So I think in my review video, the thing that I said was the most important change that they could make is making greater affixes very noticeable, because it essentially is our loot filter. That's what you're looking for in the end game. They put new indicators in there, and they did put an indicator in the inventory, and they said that they would be open to feedback. And in the Q&A, someone even asked, why didn't you just give them a different beam or something? And they said, well, they considered it, but they're open to feedback. My feedback would be the indicators work, and I don't like them. I would prefer just a different beam. And even the icon in the inventory, it almost kind of looks like the background of the item itself. I wish it was a different color, like yellow or something, so it was super obvious. So I would say it's better than what they had, but if I was in the design team and that's what they showed me, I would say no. And I would just do it completely differently again. I would just prefer a different beam, to be honest with you. Armor. Okay, so this is a pretty significant change. So when you got to level, so you need different armor values to get your 85% damage reduction based upon the monster level. So what does that mean in plain English? It essentially means that you needed to, if you were going to crawl all the way through the pit, you needed, I think, 16,300 armor is the value. Yeah, it's right here, 16,300, something like that. Now, the armor that you need will cap at monster level 100. So the value that you need at monster level 100 is 9,200. That is very, very low. So what that means is the armor on your gear is going to almost completely solve armor for you. In fact, I think you can forego not only all the armor, I don't know if the gems still give you armor, but you might be able to forego every armor skull in your rings. And I don't think you need any of the armor powers. By the way, Juggernaut single-handedly solves armor. Juggernaut, I believe, at max power in at the max power in Ancestral, I think gives you 9,500 armor. But yeah, I don't even think you need any of that. You need probably one random roll of armor on your gear, and that's it. And I don't even think you don't even need to crit in it for masterworking at all to hit the cap for all monsters. So again, recurring theme here. Diablo 4 is just way easier. You will level way faster. You can cap your armor very easily. This is the numbers. I can't remember. It's 9260 or 9230, 92 something. And that's it. That's it. You solve armor. You never think about it ever again. This is an insanely easy number to hit. They put some caps in the game. You can't get more than 75% CDR cooldown reduction on your gear. You can get more from other things. And the area size is capped at 100. It's just like a performance thing. Builds are getting too spammy and hitting 3 screens away. So that's fine. Balancing, they took down the number of dust devils. They took down the number of frozen orbs. They were super overperforming on the PTR. 4 to 5 got buffed. They made tempering changes. We don't know what they are. They even in the patch notes, it didn't say. So we'll just have to see. They made a bunch of class changes. We'll cover them down below. One major one that they called out is people keep wanting to play Companion Druid, but Druids don't have as good a control over their minions as Necros do. So they have way more HP and they respawn faster. And then the Rogue, the unique, the Scoundrel's Kiss, it now hits like in the same area, which will buff single targets. It's just going to be easier to use. The Hurricane was bugged. If you saw any of those videos hitting for 10 trillion damage, that's not going to happen anymore. But they did buff Hurricane's base damage and fixed a lot of other bugs. Okay, so Helltide, they made a ton of changes to Helltide already, but in addition to it, they dropped more Cinders, which is going to make you level way faster. Another way to level a lot faster. I'm actually surprised by this because I was doing speed running, leveling, testing on the PTR, and with a shit build, again, I'm under leveled. With a shit build, I was getting like 10 chests in one Helltide. So, I mean, with even more Cinder drops, and it made it seem like it was significant, you're just going to be chain opening chests all the time. It's going to level you way faster because the chests give a lot of XP. More Baneful Hearts, this makes sense because the Helltide boss should not be rare. And the Blood Maiden, the boss, now has much better loot. And you get more loot if you contribute to it. You only want to contribute 1, though. 2 or 3 doesn't give you more loot. So contribute 1 and then fight her, but it's not a rare material. And then the time to open the chest has been lowered. So Helltide is going to be, I mean, outrageously valuable all the time. The Season 4, the TLDR of Season 4 is it's exactly like the update that I posted yesterday. It's essentially nothing. You build reputation for the wolves. They give you 18 ranks of stuff to collect. And all the stuff is designed to help you level up. There's a mine cage, which makes Helltide go up 10 levels and gives you even more cinder drops. So, I mean, again, you're just going to level way faster, not only from the gear, but even more cinder drops to open the chest, which pay you XP. These mine cages only works for one player. If you open it at a party, only your monster level goes up and they don't stack. If you plug another one, it's just going to reset the timer. And then they buff the XP in all 3 zones again to get to 100 even faster. They made the pit more challenging. The rewards take longer to get. The health of the monsters went up because they were dying so fast that they don't even get to attack you. They don't even get to pose a challenge. They now drop obols, and the obol cap has been increased to 2,500 from 1,000. But remember, the Gambler got buffed. You'll say, like, oh, obols suck. The Gambler is very powerful. He now drops 925 gear, and the 925 gear can have greater affixes on it. So the obol vendor can drop the greatest things in the game, essentially. And you can target farm. You go get 2,500 cinders. You need this helmet. You can't find the right helmet with the right power, the right greater affixes. You need to hit the greater affix on your CDR and your helmet. Okay, well, you buy 5,000 helmets and you're going to get it eventually. After the bosses die, they must have been watching my stream because I was crucifying Blizzard for this. The boss dies, and then after the boss is dead and you're picking up the loot, the boss kills you. Stupid. So they removed that. And then they tried to make group play a little bit less punishing. Now the person who opens the pit gets 100% of the loot and the other players get 50. They're trying to bridge how overpowered group play is from single player. Nightmare Dungeons give you 25% more glyph XP, and they give you lots of pit keys as you go to the high Nightmare Dungeons. Again, everything is easier except for the pit. It's always the same thing. The Uber bosses are now 3 times more expensive for 5 times the rewards. So if you're very powerful and good at killing them, you can get a lot of loot. Boss materials will drop randomly, so you aren't forced to do a specific task to gain them. Doing the specific task is still the best way to gain them, but if you don't want to do it and you got to do something else, you can do other things and get the materials. Uber Lilith gives you a resplendent spark the first time you kill her. The other Uber bosses also give you a resplendent spark, and also the season will give you a resplendent spark. I believe you need 4 of them, and then you can choose any Uber unique that you want. So if you do those 3 things, if you find any Uber unique, it's essentially whatever Uber unique you actually want. So the little bosses on the way up to the main bosses can now also drop Uber uniques at a lower chance. So that's going to be easier as well. Now in the season journey, they're doing what Diablo 3 did. I'll be honest with you. I think this is one of the, like, people will disagree with me, and that's fine. But I actually think that this is a bad thing for Diablo 3. I think it made the game worse. So Diablo 3 developers always said that it's kind of sucks that you get to level 70 and then you're like in Torment 1, Torment 2, putting your build together, and then bam, you complete season 4 of your season journey, and now you're in T16. So all the difficulties between them, which were supposed to be stepping stones to getting to the end game, are completely obsoleted every season for every character. Well, here we go again. In the season journey, now they're going to give you a bunch of legendaries for a specific build that they're going to choose for every season. So barbs are just going to get dust devils, druids get pulverized, necros get minions. Sorcerers are getting incinerate. Why didn't they give us frozen orb? This was the frozen orb season. And rogues are going to get barrage. For the super, super casuals, they're going to love it. It's a recurring theme. They're making the game easier and easier and easier. Here is a full set. Here, open 300 chests in Helltide, no problem. Here's 3 out of 4 Resplendent Sparks, no problem. Get your Uber Unique. Masterworking, you can't fail anymore. Just level it on up. It's, I say it like it's a bad thing. I'm saying it like it's a bad thing. Yes. Just making the game too easy, in my opinion. But the casuals will love it, and the casuals are what drive the game, so I guess we go with it. We did the Q&A. They said seasonal powers will return in the future. They had to make a ton of core changes to the game. They'll bring back seasonal powers. Season 4 is going to be 1 week shorter because it started late in the PTR. The end game is the next major thing that they're working on. Uniques versus legendaries. The legendaries have a journey, but they usually have a higher ceiling. Some uniques will still be good. They're going to monitor it in the future, and who knows. If legendaries are just way better than uniques because you can't do as much crafting, then they might consider adding some kind of crafting to uniques in the future. They're adding social features. Leaderboards may come later on for activities like the pit, but it's not their main focus right now. It was asked, and they said when tempering, they chose to not let you keep your original role, but they're open to feedback on it. That's kind of an interesting decision. This is probably the only thing that they could have made a lot easier that they didn't. So if you temper and you get the thing that you want, but it's the lowest roll, if you temper again, and if you don't get it, then you actually have to spec out of the thing that you wanted, which is an interesting decision, but it's all right. And then a couple of things that I got reading the patch notes. You can search for the word equip or equipped in the codex now, which now it salvages up and gives you the highest value for it now, for what you're wearing. So you can upgrade your gear. That's a godly change. I'm very surprised that they didn't cover it in the Campfire. The minimum level requirements to wear sacred gear went down 10 levels and ancestral went down 5. This is going to make you level so much faster. If you can actually get to world tier 3 early, and you can already equip the sacred items, you're just going to plow up to 55, then you go over, and then these 5 levels are not that easy. 55 to 60 are actually some of the longest levels in the entire game. Not literally because of the XP, but the way that the change in world tiers goes. This is actually a big, I guess, nerf or buff, buff to XP leveling again. Couple quick notes for all the classes. Hoda got nerfed. Dust Devils got nerfed. Should still be really strong. Resource Gen for Druids got vastly improved. That's going to help them on a lot of builds. Blood Mist is now doesn't slow you down. They gave them some movement speed options. Minions got a massive buff. And now Ring of Mendelin, if I read this correctly, it procs 1 in 6 instead of lucky hit 10% chance, which should be a huge mathematical buff, which is crazy because Ring of Mendelin is godly. Rogues, grenades, and unique bows got buffed. Sorcerers, some of their underpower skills got buffed. They said the cursed shrines won't stop in the middle of the event anymore. We'll see if that happens. And Gulran Canals, you can actually complete it. That's one of the best and fastest nightmare dungeons. So that is going to be a nice change. That's the 3 pages of notes that I have for the review and what I think it means. Again, so the looming question is, so I don't think Blizzard has the opportunity to undo any of these changes. So the way that it currently works is the Diablo 4 1 to 100 experience is going to be like the most comfortable leveling experience of any ARPG. You just get massive loot, massive rewards all the time, a full set of legendaries for a specific build. It's going to be very, very comfortable. So the looming question will always be, what happens after that? We have the pit. Pit is like Greater Rifts, but Greater Rifts didn't get iterated on for 10 years. And then Diablo 3 essentially died. So I guess that's going to be the main question going forward.